Let's do a recap. I thought I'd just make a little bit more of an interesting entrance today for the recap video for the Bass Pro Tour Major League Fishing, Sturgeon Bay. This is day 4 and I'm exhausted like always, of course. This is, let's say, this is the Group B qualifying day 2. And I was with Jordan Lee today. As you know, I get up very early. I've been getting up at 4:30 in the morning. Every morning, I met Jordan at the meeting area at this kind of, well, it's basically a ramp here in Sturgeon Bay where everybody meets. And then from there, you get with your angler, the camera guys get with their angler, and then we trailer to wherever the angler wants to launch from here on the, there's got to be a name for this peninsula. I should know what this peninsula is, but it's Door County, and all these anglers are kind of launching in different little small ramps that are throughout this Green Bay area, Sturgeon Bay area, Lake Michigan area. Golly, I'm exhausted. I need a drink here. I apologize. Okay, so here we go. So beautiful, beautiful day today. Gorgeous day, the nicest day we've had so far. Completely flat, no waves, completely different from yesterday. Yesterday was the waviest, windiest conditions I've ever shot a bass tournament in. I told you, I don't know, 2 or 3 days ago, I lost my awesome boat cushion. It was more than a boat cushion. It was like a deluxe portable seat that you'd use for like bleachers, if you go to a kids football game or something. But I've got this. I've got a pillow now that I stole from my hotel room couch. Don't tell anybody. That's it. That's what I'm using as a boat cushion now to get me through the rest of this week. So let's go into it. Okay. So we start the day, we get out, we get to the ramp where Jordan was launching from at about 7:15 in the morning. And we take off, actually we got there earlier, but we took off at 7:15 from this ramp. And lines in, MLF Live, MLF Now starts at 8 o'clock. So from 7:15 to 8 o'clock, Jordan was doing a lot of graphing out in offshore locations, looking for big rock, and he would just mark waypoints anytime he'd see big rock. He's marking waypoints. So the first day 1 of qualifying with Jordan, I mean, he was catching them offshore, catching them very, very good. So he just, he figured that he would be able to catch them in those places, just the same kind of places he was fishing on day 1. So that's what he was doing. He was looking for more areas, just to have just kind of more areas similar to what where he was catching fish on day 1. So he's marking, he's graphing, and he's marking rocks on a side scan sonar. It was an absolutely gorgeous day. I couldn't believe how just flat and calm it was. It only got up to maybe 76 today. It was just a day that you kind of dream of on the Great Lakes. So the problem is that the areas that Jordan was fishing, the fish were not there. And it was very surprising. It was a completely different day. These smallmouth just seem to bail. Like, you can't count on them to be in an area day in and day out. They just move wherever the heck they want to go. And I'm sure that's, there's many factors for that. Bait fish, just weather conditions. I really love to know what's going on in the minds of these little brown fish. But so you could tell it was a little frustrating, as it would be for any fisherman, to go, to similar areas or the same kind of areas that you're catching them before, and they're not there. So the beginning of the day was very, very slow. So basically, when I'm filming these tournaments, I've got I've got an ear, a headphone. What am I trying to say? You know what I'm saying? An earbud right in this ear, and I can hear it's plugged into the camera. It's plugged into the encoder. This encoder is what sends out my video signal over a cellular network, and then it's picked up in Tulsa where they do the live show. It's incredible technology. I'm blown away by it every time I do this. But I can hear everything in my ear that's happening in the live show. That's how I know when I'm live. I can ask the anglers questions if the commentators want to know something, I can ask the angler questions. If the director wants me to do something, I can do it. And that's essentially how I can communicate. It's kind of one way. I have to text them. Right now, if I need to communicate back to the production truck, but I can hear everything that's going on in the live show and what's going on behind the scenes, how they're directing the show, and I could hear that they were talking about Mike Iaconelli. It looked like he wasn't using braid. Everybody's using braid, with a long fluorocarbon leader. And they thought that he wasn't using braid. They thought that he was just using straight fluorocarbon. And honestly, and granted, I'm not a professional bass fisherman, okay? But I use straight fluorocarbon on my spinning reels. And I use Berkley 100% fluorocarbon. I found it to be it's professional grade. I can't remember all the whole title of it, but Berkley 100% fluorocarbon. It's their premium fluorocarbon, Berkley Trilene. I love it. To me, for fluorocarbon, it's good on the reel, good on a spinning reel. It's pretty limp as far as fluorocarbon goes. It's quite manageable. And I don't have to worry about doing some kind of a knot from the braid to the fluorocarbon. Some of these knot, like an FG knot, is a super complicated knot to tie, and so I just don't bother with it. I just use fluorocarbon all the way through. So I'm like, oh, cool. Iaconelli does the same thing. Well, come to find out that no, he actually was using braid. It's just a different kind of braid that Berkley's got out now that's thinner, I guess, and harder to. It's like white, so it looks more like regular kind of fluorocarbon or monofilament. Doesn't look like braid, is my point. So, but it turns out, so he is using a braid. Excuse me, I need more beverage. So this. I'd like to hear from anybody out there that does use braid to fluorocarbon. What are the benefits of it? I'm sure it's even greater sensitivity because there's absolutely zero stretch from braid. But what concerns me is that, especially in clear water, I see some guys using braids that are like high vis. And the whole idea with fluorocarbon is it's got the same refractive index as water, or nearly the same. So it's almost clear underwater, and that's the great thing about fluorocarbon. Of course, the incredibly low stretch, abrasion resistance, and all that fun stuff. For me, it doesn't. I know I'm comfortable managing it on a spinning reel, so I'd bypass the braid altogether, and I like the idea that it's completely, there isn't any kind of visibility with a braid. I'm just using, the fluorocarbon all the way through. So I'm wondering if there's anybody out there that can tell me why is braid better than just using complete fluorocarbon. Straight on the spool. Is there anybody out there that's like me that just uses straight fluorocarbon? Just curious. That was just something that was running through my head today. So Jordan finally catches one after about an hour, and this spot. So we'd graphed a little bit, and he found, and this is a place that he hadn't that he just found off the cuff today. He hadn't practiced, he hadn't found this place in practice or anything. He just found it. It was this hump coming up to 5 feet, this offshore hump coming up to 5 feet. And he found a bunch of fish, man. Right up top on the hump, he was nailing them. 2, 3, a few that were close to 4 pounds, if not 4 pounds. I can't remember exactly, but he skyrocketed up to first place. He blew past Keith Poche, who had a terrible first period. I mean, he didn't catch anything, even into the second period, I believe. Keith finally started catching them, but I can't remember when that was. Maybe late into the second period. But Jordan was using what he was using day one. He was drop shotting I'm so tired. If you only knew, I'm so tired. This is day 4. I'm exhausted. Can you tell? I'm working through this. We're gonna get through this together, okay? So he was drop shotting a Berkeley max scent flatworm. Okay, same thing he was using day 1, and he was just tearing them up on this. And he gets in the first. He at one point had a 20-pound lead, okay, over second place. So he's feeling really good. And honestly, I thought he had it wrapped up. I'll be honest. I thought he had it wrapped up. And he was feeling good. It was the water's super clear. He's seeing these fish. He's sight fishing for them. And then these fish are so unpressured. He pitches over to them, donk, and like nearly everyone he sees, he's catching. It was really, really cool to capture that on video. So there was one other angler near us, Greg Vincent, who I've worked with before. The first time I worked with him was last year, and he's a great dude. I'll tell you a little story about Greg. I may have said this last year in a recap video, I'm not sure, but I was with Greg, I don't know, it was New York or something, filming him. It might have been a cup event. And there was a dock owner that was kind of working on his dock, and Greg was fishing near the dock, coming up on this dock where this dock owner was working. And the dock owner said, "I hope you're not going to fish my dock." And Greg, this dock owner was a real jerk. And Greg was completely professional about it. Like, super nice. And I was about to kind of light into, I have sometimes I have a short fuse. And I was about to light into this guy, actually, in this boat, this dock owner, because he was being a real jerk. And it was amazing how nice Greg was, and it completely diffused the situation. And that's a lesson. I took it as a lesson. Everybody should take it as a lesson, especially in this day and age. Getting back to, so Greg Vincent is fishing the same hump that we were, and he was below the cut line, and you could tell obviously he wants to get above the cut line. And so Jordan and Greg were basically kind of sharing this area, and I know that's got to be really stressful for anglers to have an area that's so full of fish, and you're both just trying to, Jordan's trying to win, and Greg's trying to get into the cut to make it to the knockout round. So both of the guys handled it very well, very professionally, which I wasn't surprised by. But it was interesting to see that dynamic, how they worked together and kind of gave each other room. Greg did eventually, I believe, yes, Greg, I'm pretty sure made it into the cut at the end of the day. But yeah, Jordan just was absolutely lighting it up, and he was finding these fish. So it's flat calm, right? He was finding these fish right on the hump. Basically, it topped off at 5 feet. And I'd hear on the live show, the commentators talking about, and I hear this all the time just in general, how smallmouth like slick, calm, bright days. And I think you got to be a little careful with that, because I've got a relatively good amount of experience with smallmouth. I fished for them. I used to live in Pennsylvania. I fished for smallmouth on the Susquehanna River. And one of the best days I've ever seen of smallmouth fishing, really it was, I'll be honest with you, my friend tore them up a hell of a lot better than I did. But I was fishing with a buddy of mine, and the smallmouth were absolutely on a topwater bite, on fire, and it was cloudy and spitting rain all day. And on that same body of water, you can't, like, you could have bright sun and you won't have days like that. My best days on that, and granted it's a river system, but my best days were always like cloudy days. And I've had great buzzbait bites, great walking like a Zara spook bites early in the morning. Once the sun came up, done. And that area of the Susquehanna River was actually more, it was dammed, and it was more like a lake, right? I've seen situations on that river where bright sun, you'd really have to erratically work a bait like a soft jerk bait to get them to eat it. They would be super finicky once the sun came up. So I don't think it's true that smallmouth, it depends on the fishery too. There's so many variables, but I don't think you can just make a blanket statement that smallmouth bite better in bright sun, calm, clear conditions. I think that is not true. On some fisheries that may be true, but you can't say it on all fisheries. I've seen it in places where it's the exact opposite. So I'm just looking at my notes here, make sure that I'm covering everything. Yeah, so talked about the flatworm. Okay, so yeah, so Greg makes it. Greg Vincent, who was fishing by us, he makes it in the cut line. Like I said, I believe he made it at the end of the day. I think he's going on to fish the knockout round. The bite starts to slow considerably for Jordan, and Cliff Pace and Keith Poche start getting closer and closer to him, and the area, this offshore hump, dies. It's just completely nothing's happening. Either the fish move out. I mean, he caught so many fish on this hump, it's most likely that the fish, he just burned through those fish. That's probably what happened. He worked through that whole population that was on that hump. So he had to go and search for other areas, and these other areas just weren't as good. So Jordan just got bumped out of first, and then he got bumped out of second, and then he got bumped out of third. So I know that had to be disappointing for him, because what's cool about how they're doing the tournaments, the Bass Pro Tour this year, is that whoever wins these qualifying rounds, these elimination rounds, they move on right onto the championship. So that's a lot to be able to win a qualifying round. You don't have to fish the knockout round. I think he was just, it was as anybody would be. It was disappointing. So I was really pulling for him. I really like Jordan a lot. I was really hoping that he was going to win this thing. I mean, that's the thing about smallmouth. It looked like, he was going to run away with this thing. So especially in this format, you're never out of it. And then with smallmouth, they can just leave, and you think you have an area that's full of them, and they're not even there. So there's a lot of stressful parts about this thing. One of the things that was interesting too, so I actually saw this giant smallmouth, and as a camera guy, I am neutral. I can't be a cheerleader. I can't be helping out my angler. I just got to document the day, And I look down and I see this giant, man. I mean, it looked to me to be, pushing 5 pounds, if not more. And there's some we haven't even really kind of, and I think maybe in the fall there's the fish are bigger, but there's 7-pounders in this system. So I don't know if they're just a little leaner this time of year, or the bigger ones are off somewhere else. I don't know, but there are some giants, absolute giants in the system. This was a giant that I saw, but it kind of killed me because I couldn't tell Jordan, like, dude, right there. He was getting tackle ready. He was like retying or something, And I was like, oh my gosh, that's a giant right there. So unfortunately, that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. And you know, I would have loved to have been able to fish for that fish myself either, but you know, this is my job. This is what I got to do. Okay, so Cliff Pace just rockets to first. He found just an absolute, you know, covey of them, and it's cool about this fishery, man. When you find them, boy, you light them up quick. But then you always also got to worry that you're gonna beat them up and they're gonna run out. But Cliff found a great group of fish. I don't know if he found just one group of fish or he's fishing different areas. You guys are going to know that better than me if you watch the live show. But Cliff got first, so he's moving on to the championship round. I believe Keith Poche is in second. Congrats to him. And Jordan's in third. So tomorrow I am going to be with Jordan again. And they're also, that's part of, I think they're kind of keeping the camera guys with the same anglers all week because of COVID, the wonderful COVID. Doesn't everybody love COVID? But, so yeah, I'm with Jordan again. If there is one bright aspect to the pandemic is that I get to work with Jordan a lot. So that is it. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, I say this all the time. Do you love it when I ask you to subscribe? I love asking you to subscribe, but I do want to tell you it's show us love. If you love what we're doing, even if you just like what we're doing, hit subscribe, hit like, share the video, let people know about the wonders of angling uploaded. Check out our videos if you haven't. All our playlists, especially another fishing show. That's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun on that program offered here at Angling Uploaded, and we got more stuff in the works. So thanks for watching. I will see you tomorrow. Make sure to check out MLF Now. When you see Jordan Lee, it's because I'm filming him. Isn't it beautiful? See you guys tomorrow.